There's a good list of things that Danny didn't expect to happen in her life. First, leaving her career. Second, mysteriously inheriting a mansion. Third, starting her own chef-to-go business. And finally, taking charge of 4 college students who are now renting from her in this really big mansion. But probably the most important thing that she didn't see coming was being suspected for murder when one of the college students' classmates dies. And a lot of things start pointing to her chef-to-go business. Hi, I'm Neri. This is Fictional Narrative. Today is Cozy Saturday. If you're new to Cozy Saturday, it is where I tell you about the newest cozy mystery that I've delved into. I give a non-spoiler review followed by the rating, whether or not I'd continue it, and then we go into the spoilery part of the review. This week I'm reviewing Tart of Darkness by Denise Swanson, and it is the first in the chef-to-go mysteries. To be honest, going into this book, I was a little confused because we did start off just before she inherited the mansion, and then she inherited the mansion, and then there's a little bit of a time skip, and this is just in the beginning of the book. And then these college kids are people that she knew because she lived in an apartment with them previously before inheriting her mansion. So seeing as she's starting off a new business, she's like, I probably need employees. She wants to do catering, things like that. This turned out actually really well for them. The kids get a place to stay. That's kind of cool. And their parents are like, this will also teach them responsibility if they were to put in a few hours to work for you. The storytelling and the pacing are really, really wonderful. I do not have any complaints there. And if you really like romances, but you're not into something that's too sugary sweet, I definitely think this particular book straddles that line between cozy mystery and romance. Yeah, cozy mysteries have romance in them, but this one is a really sweet romance where, in romance book you're thinking, are they yearning for each other? Are they thinking about each other? What is the it is heavier in this book. And it's very obvious who the romance is going to be straight off the bat. The mystery itself was really good, and you follow 2 different characters in this book, actually, when it comes to investigating. And that brings kind of a whole new dimension to what you're reading, because you see from 2 different sides, and both sides are pertinent to the story. I will say that there are a lot of characters, though, and it almost seems like too many characters to juggle, to the point where the author kind of has to, in the end, resolve certain conflicts that the characters have, and it just seems like a jumble of stuff happening all at once. On one hand, it adds intrigue into the mystery because we don't know who is involved with what, but on the other hand, when everything comes together in the end, we still have certain conflicts because we have our red herrings, and it gets a little bit messy. Overall, I think that this book has a lot of different things going on, different elements, different tropes, different vibes that don't necessarily all harmonize together, but the story itself stands out despite that. And I do appreciate it. I love how Danny's really spunky and clever and comes to her own solutions, and she knows that she has to, keep her head on her shoulders and how to do that, while the author also gives us her vulnerable side. And it does bring out a lot of gotta protect the main character feeling from other characters, which I don't know that it's absolutely necessary this early in the series, because this is book 1. I did thoroughly enjoy it, though. I could picture the mansion, I could picture the food, I could picture people scrambling about, all these different characters, the setting. And I really liked that about it, because the author really did take time to establish the character, what the character wants, what the character is looking for in terms of building her own business. Danny is a solid character. I just hope it doesn't go in the way of in romance novels, when there are some female protagonists who stand up for themselves, they say no and whatnot, but then they let the male character do whatever anyway. Not that our male love interest is a bad guy, but I really want to see Dani stand on her own, because in the very beginning of the book, we kind of get told a lot about her family life as well, and I think seeing her character grow is going to be an amazing part of this series. Overall, I gave this book a 4 out of 5, and I think I will probably continue the next few books just to see if I'm still hooked into these characters or the plot or not. The mystery itself, the way it ended, I really liked it, so we'll have to see. As long as the storylines stay solid and stands out on its own, I think that there are a lot of other things that have to feel like they're getting juggled kind of clumsily is not too bad. That being said, let's go ahead and move into the spoilery part of this book. So let's talk about the love interest. The love interest, is it the cop? Yes and no. He is a former police officer. He's no longer a police officer. He's retired. He used to be undercover, so he's kind of a boring character in like the things that he like thinks, but when we see his side of the investigation and everything that goes into his backstory of keeping himself safe as a previously undercover cop, the things that he can do, the things that he can't do, the things that the places he can show his face or else he'll be caught because of his undercover work, that was interesting. And the reason that Dani and our love interest even meet up is because one of the students that Dani is renting to is his niece. Now, there is a bit of an age gap. I believe he's older, not like ancient, but Dani herself is like in her 20s. That is not the point, but it is pointed out within the book. And I do say that because there was a point in time where I was confused, because before they met, anything that Dani heard about this man was from his niece. His niece is going to think her uncle is ancient. So when we finally get to his POV and it's like, oh, he's not like 80. I was a bit thrown off by that. It makes sense in the narrative of everything we've heard comes from his niece. But that really did throw me in for a loop. And that's why I mentioned that he is not 80. I think there's even a point where Dani was like surprised that he was young. But that aside, he does become protective of her. Neither of these people are ready to date. And it's very cute. And I think it would be slow burn because they have to sort themselves out. But there is the little tiny problem of the ex-boyfriend who keeps badgering her. He's trying to get something from her. And while this doesn't have anything to do with the mystery, it does cause a distraction from the investigation. And this is what I'm talking about when I say the conflict resolution for some of this is kind of bungled. The way that she stood up for herself in the end against him. It's not that I don't think that she should do it. It's just that I know that she's doing it to someone who doesn't care. And it's just a waste of breath and energy and effort. And she doesn't need to prove anything but to herself. And I don't know that in that moment she proved anything to herself, because she's established this business, she's doing good, she solved this mystery, she's, built herself up. And I understand if somebody has torn you down again and again, you want to be able to have that moment of confronting them. I don't think it was done very well. Because then there's this other mystery that comes with the ex-boyfriend, and that was resolved in a kind of like, oh, okay, so we're just gonna say it? You couldn't just wait a few days for me to find this so you could tell me what happened? This is... Honestly, I don't think that I would be as upset if that reveal did not come earlier, instead of like so close to the end. Because by then, that's like the thing I'm least interested in. There is a reporter in this book that Danny kind of teams up with as well. We don't see her point of view, unfortunately, but she does come in and shares information with Danny. She's kind of a loudmouth. She's very social. Well, she's a reporter. And she's actually a very sweet character, but I can kind of see that like loudmouth psychic vibe coming from her. And to an extent, I do want her to swing into action and do her reporter thing, but I need that instinct to kick in a little sooner than it did. Now, the reveal of the mystery was actually really good. It didn't end up with like a big bang in terms of action or anything like that, but the reveal and the way that it was treated and the compassion, everything was so good. I don't think that this needed any kind of violent end or any ending that's too actiony. I do like when my main characters get into a little bit of trouble, but this one didn't need it. And I think it was handled really, really well, but I don't think that every single mystery is gonna end up like this. And I was really iffy on the reporter up until we find out who the killer is, and then she is stunned, but she takes her moment to shine, and that's when I'm like, okay, this reporter is just not in it for the scoop. She's hopefully a good reporter. If you read this book, let me know, what do you think? Was it worth killing over? If you've watched this far, thank you so much. I will see you on the next Cozy Saturday. Bye!